Welcome back to the Startup Experiment. I am Scott. I am trying to build 12 startups in 12 months. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about MVPs, minimum viable products, and should you use one when you're building your next startup. I'm going to talk about an alternative approach called an SLC and how I combine that with an MVP to build software quickly. So let's jump right in. Before we jump into what an SLC is or a SLIC is, let's remind ourselves what an MVP actually is. A minimum viable product is a version of a product with just enough features to be usable by early customers who can then provide feedback for future product development. A minimal viable product has just enough core features to effectively deploy the product and no more. There's been a big push in the software engineering and software development world to use more MVPs since Agile has gained popularity. Before, when people would use the waterfall methodology to build products, they would spend months, sometimes even years, building out a product before getting feedback from their customers. An MVP is all about iterating, getting feedback from people, making changes to your product, and then getting more feedback. As it says right here in Wikipedia, the MVP is analogous to experimentation in the scientific method, applied in the context of validating a business hypothesis. It is utilized so that prospective entrepreneurs, that's me and you, would know whether a given business idea would actually be viable and profitable by testing the assumptions behind a product or business idea. So if MVPs are so great, why am I suggesting that we do something a little bit different? Well, it all goes back to this article in 2017, Your Customers Hate MVPs, Make an SLC Instead. The Smart Bear is a website run by Jason Cohn. He is currently the Chief Innovation Officer behind WordPress Engine or WP Engine. This site is a goldmine for articles about software development, product development, and just business in general. I want to give you a quick summary of this blog post. Jason says MVP implies a selfish process, abusing customers so you can learn. Instead, make the first version simple, lovable, and complete, SLC or SLIC. Jason goes on to say that they don't build MVPs at WP Engine because it's selfish and it hurts customers. Jason recognizes the need still for an MVP, saying they are great for startups and product teams because they maximize so-called validated learning as quickly as possible. And while customer interviews are useful, you learn brand new things when customers actually use the product. And this is something I completely agree with. There is no substitute to getting people actually using your product. But he goes on to say MVPs are a selfish act, saying that customers hate MVPs. They hate them because they are too M and not enough V. They're too minimum and they're not enough viable. Customers don't want to use something that's duct taped together. They want something that's great and they want it now. He argues that while this is great for product teams and learning quickly, that this is bad for customers and ultimately bad for the company. Now, Jason's not just trashing MVPs, he's offering an alternative, the SLC. To explain what an SLC is, I'm going to read the next few paragraphs because I feel like Jason does an amazing job of summarizing it. So in order for the product to be small and deliver quickly, it has to be simple. Customers accept simple products every single day, even if it doesn't do everything needed. As long as the product never claimed to do more than it does, customers are forgiving. For example, it was okay that early versions of Google Docs had only 3% of the features of Microsoft Word because Docs did a great job at what it was primarily designed to do, which is simplicity and real-time collaboration. Google Docs was simple but also complete. This is decidedly different from the classic MVP, which by definition isn't complete. Simple is good, incomplete is not. The customer should have a genuine desire to use the product as is, not because it's version 0.1 or something complex, but because it's version 1.0 of something simple. It's not contradictory for products to be simple as well as complete. Examples include the first versions of WhatsApp, Snapchat, Stripe, Twilio, Twitter, and Slack. Some of those later expanded to add complexity, whereas some kept it simple as permanent value. Think about Twitter or WhatsApp, how simple they are to use. Virgin Air and Southwest Airlines both started with only a single route, small but complete. The final ingredient is that the product has to be lovable. People have to want to use it. Products that do less but are loved are more successful than products which have more features but that people dislike. The original, very feature low, very highly loved, hyper successful early versions of products listed in the previous paragraph are examples of this. Jason goes on a little bit further down in the article to give a great example about Snapchat. He says, Snapchat took an SLC approach similar to the transportation metaphor. This can seem a little bit ambiguous, so Jason includes a diagram in the article that was created by the Spotify product team. A skateboard is a slick product. It's faster than walking, it's simple, many people love it, and it's a complete product that doesn't need additions to be fun or practical. At the same time, you can evolve the skateboard by adding a stem and handlebars to create a scooter, only slightly less simple and definitely lovable and complete. Next, you could grow the wheels, add a seat, add some gears, and you have a bike. Again, less simple, but now you have a product with massive benefits of speed, distance, and energy efficiency. And you can carry that example all the way onto a motorcycle or a car, just like in the picture here. So the question then becomes, should I ditch the MVP approach to building my software and adopt this slick SLC approach? Well, let's compare the two and see. An MVP by name is minimum. It's bare bones. Whereas an SLC, also by name, is complete. It's got full end-to-end functionality for at least one feature. An MVP is better than the current alternative, right? I'll use this software because it's better than doing it manually, but boy, is it clunky. Whereas an SLC is a pleasure to use because of the simplicity that it brings to the solution. An MVP might be sparse, maybe devoid of color or themes, images, whereas an SLC is branded and beautiful. In an MVP, UX is an afterthought, whereas an SLC, it's carefully considered. Every aspect of that one feature has been carefully thought out by the product team. An MVP is something that you might be a little embarrassed to show your customers, whereas an SLC is something that you are proud to show off. And typically an MVP is quite short-lived. You'll iterate on it, maybe even move to a version 2.0, whereas an SLC is something that can live on its own in perpetuity. So which one should you choose when building out your software? My suggestion is, why not use both? Don't just build an MVP or just build an SLC. Start with an MVP and progress into an SLC. Challenge yourself to build an MVP in a week or two. Again, you want it to be sparse, bare bones, embarrassing, and then I think it's best to alpha test it. Get a small group of friends, family, or peers, and have them test out your solution. The feedback that you get from them is going to be almost as valuable as the feedback that you get from customers, but you're not hurting your brand by having your friends and family try it out. And just like a great iteration, you're still going to learn so much from having these people use it. Then, if there's a spark of validation with your idea, turn it into an SLC. Take that one core problem that it's solving and build it out end to end. Make the software a pleasure to use. Make sign up incredibly easy. Create your distinct brand identity and make it your own. This will be something that you're proud to put out in front of beta testers and something that you're proud to ask money for. If you do find validation, you can take a slow approach to building out additional features while the core functionality of your product brings tremendous value to your users. So let's see this in action with the application that I'm currently working on, Microhabits. If you want to, you can go back and watch a previous episode and learn more about Microhabits. But basically, it's a habit tracker that allows you to track the progression of your skill over time. I took some time to lay out all the different features that I want to include in Microhabits, and then I categorized them by MVP and SLC. As you can see, the list of features under the MVP column for my Microhabits application is only 4. Being able to create a habit, get a reminder on that habit, set up the application, and then view or track a habit. Whereas the Slick or SLC version of this application has about 15 parts to it to make this a complete and lovable solution. So that's my approach. I'm still working on building out the MVP, and I'll hopefully launch it here with some friends and family in the next couple weeks. And then I'll look to quickly follow up by using all the learnings that I get from testing my MVP to build out the SLC to make something that is amazing. Thanks for watching this episode. I'll make sure to link the Smart Bear article down below in the description. Go and check it out. Drop a comment down below if this was helpful for you, or maybe you take a different approach to building out applications. I would love to hear it. Make sure you stay tuned for the Dog Appreciation Moment of the Week, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.